trying to see where because I feel that every single time that I try to do something, I don't have high enough goals. I feel that every time I do something, I achieve them.
I think you have high enough goals. You don't have high enough confidence. That's the difference, you know? And I tell you this from personal experience too. It's like who I'm being now and who I'm pushing out now. I couldn't see that in 2024 because even though I had the goals and I had the vision, I didn't realize that I lacked confidence. You know, even though I was already confident in what I was doing, but there was another level to that. And then even accepting that I was capable of even being worthy enough to achieve that.
Right.
You know, and so in my discovery in 2024 of doing a lot of internal work, I discovered that, which you think you don't have high enough goals, but it isn't that you don't have high enough goals. It's just that you don't have high enough confidence.
And that's
to go after
what?
that
What,
and be
what do you think?
deserving
That's fear. That's trauma. That's
it's a
that's
combination
doubt.
of both. You know, I think when I went through mine, I think it was, you know, my upbringing. You know, definitely, you know, childhood trauma, stuff like that. Just conditioning overall. You know, us being first generation. I think you're first generation homeowner in your family. First generation entrepreneur, I'm assuming. So there's all these first time situations that come with a lot of responsibility and a lot of expectation.
Right.
And you are going to be questioned, you are going to be doubted, you are going to be judged and criticized. And so the more that you continue down that path, it's like, okay, do I want more of this? You know? And I think that was my reality check in 2024 because I built something that hadn't yet been done. And then I got to witness and experience the byproduct of that. And I was, do I really want this? Do I want more of this pressure? Do I want to be judged more? Do I want more criticism in my growth and where I'm heading to, right?
You're talking about like being a public figure on social media?
Yeah, just not just a public figure, but just a brand, you know? And just being more out there and just really stating the things that I believe in and my approach and my thought process. I think I wasn't yet confident enough to be able to just say what I believe in, you know? And that scared me because I'm like, I'm naturally a good person and I'm a giving person. But if I do more, that's going to come with more criticism of my judgment, of my character, right? And I don't want that. All right. I just didn't want to accept that I had to go through that pain again. You know? And then, you know, I started getting closer to God. And in that, I started to realize that this was my path. And this was my responsibility. This was my cross to carry. And I had to accept that the fact that whatever comes with it has to come with it, you know, whether I want to or not, it's my responsibility, you know, and being able to see a glimpse of that already with kind of my family and the people that I've impacted. Now it's just doing that at a whole different level, accepting my cross and understanding that it isn't just about me winning, but, you know, if I don't do this, my daughter now has to carry it. My son now has to carry it. Their kids have to carry it. And so it's either I put an end to it now and accept that pain or allow for my kids
how much pressure do you think that we have to let go of? When I talk about pressure, I mean that sometimes I do feel that we put a lot of things on top of us, when, you know, on our shoulders, when it's like, we have to be the best. We have to fucking provide. We have to. And it sometimes gets very heavy to a point where you're like, you break because it's like, I'm not doing, obviously right now you're being you're super successful, but maybe at times you're like, I'm not in the right mindset because I'm missing out on these moments, but I'm providing this. How much pressure do you think we should let go of, and how hard do you think we are as entrepreneurs?
I don't think it's letting go of pressure, it's accepting it. You know, and I think that was what I went through. I accepted it. I'm like, I understand that I will be judged. I understand that I will be criticized. Because even you do everything that you do for all the right reasons. You know, you do it for your family to be able to give them the life that, you know, maybe you wish you had. But even in your actions, it might look like the complete opposite. Taking time away from them, maybe being too deep into the craft or into the game that it's like, hey, you're saying you're doing it for your kids, but
you're not there.
You're not there. You know what I mean? Obviously, we don't have, you know, life is a lot more complex than that. And you have to kind of do the complete opposite so that they can receive what you're trying to give them. But that comes with pressure and criticism, you know, and this is where I was saying, where it's like, hey, I do this for my family. So now that I'm here and I'm able to give them a great life, why do I still think I need to build more and go further than that, you know? And I know that's going to come with pressure. So it isn't that's a crossroad, right? It's like either I stay where I'm at and I let go and I relieve myself of that pressure, that cross, or do I carry it because I know I have a deeper mission?
Yeah.
And that's going to come with a lot of pain. Am I comfortable with that pain? Am I going to accept it, right? And so you have to kind of make that decision of, do I give up here to kind of not validate, but to prove people that I am doing it for my family per se?
Right.
Or do I continue because I have a bigger purpose than myself? And regardless of that criticism and that judgment, I know that God knows my heart, and whatever I do here, humanity or society or my family or my friends might not understand it, but I know that He does.
Right.
And that's what He placed into me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the difference.
Mm.
You either remove the pressure and stay where you're at, or you understand that we crucified a perfect man.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know, we still judge them, criticize them, and we still do to this day.
Yeah.
Or do I go down the path that I was, you know, born to be?
It's interesting, because I do feel that sometimes those doubts of other people do fuck with us. Even though, like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't give a shit what people say about me, right?
We all care.
I feel that a certain extent we do care,
Mm-hmm.
and it does kind of, I mean, even sometimes annoys us, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, dude, I'm trying. If only people knew what's under the hood and what's like in my mind, or how much ambition or pressure I have in terms of a thought process, you know.
Analysis.
But it is difficult. One of the other things that I wanted to, I mean, we already started. Let me just start the fucking podcast.
Yeah. Bro, this was.
Already,
I thought we were already recording.
no, we are. I already did.
Oh, okay.
All that.
Because this was fire.
For me, it was like, what is my purpose? What am I fighting for? Because right now I'm 34 years old, right? I started hustling since I was 7 years old, dude. I started washing cars, and so since that time, I've been like with this, I don't know if I have this target in my back I put myself through, you know, but I've always been that what's next type of thing, right? And when I was in the DJ business, I DJ'd since I was 16 till I was 27. And that's a long time. And I wasn't surrounded, and I didn't surround myself, and I didn't have the education to learn about marketing, learn about the business. For me, it was just like living day by day, right? Like, oh, I'm doing something extra, so I might be on the right path. But then you wake up one day and you're like, shit, like my kids are already getting older. Shit, time is passing by, and I'm not even thinking like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where am I going to be at? I'm thinking daily. I'm thinking, oh, next week I have a gig. I'm going to use that for the rent, and then I'm going to pay this, and we're going to go out, you know, to theaters or whatever. Now my mindset, it's like, where do I see myself in 3 years, 4 years? How long am I going to do this? How am I going to structure this business where I'm going to know where, you know, how am I going to go from A, B to C and D, you know, because I do feel, I know that we're still young, but for some reason, I mean, my daughter's turning 18. So for some reason, I feel I'm already like at the back end, which is not true, but I do feel that now it's like, okay, I need to enjoy more time with them without having to sacrifice so much work. And the hard part for me right now is like, okay, I know that they've been helping me. They've been patient with me. They've been every single thing that I've ever wanted to do. They've been 100% supportive. My girlfriend as well. When am I going to give that back to them? I feel that there came last year a moment in my mind where I was like, what am I doing? When am I going to give back to them? They already followed me through all the hustling journeys, and I'm oh yeah, this next thing is gonna happen. When I just need to do this, and this is gonna happen, right? That mindset of dreaming. But it's like, when am I gonna structure something where I'm gonna literally make it my goal to be like, just give me a year, I'm gonna make this shit happen. And that's where I'm at right now. Right now I'm in the mindset of like, this is going to happen because this is all I have. My kids are already gonna be, you know, old enough for them to do their own life, and their whole life I just dedicated it to hustling. So yeah, it's just been a year of a lot of ups and downs, and trying to learn.
And I think that's why I was talking about to you about like acceptance, you know, because you can't change those facts. You can't change that timeline, you know, you can't change the year or the hour or the time frame in which you're going to be able to give that back to them, you know. But the best thing that you can do is accept, you know, your journey and do the best with what you can, because if you continue to beat yourself up for it, you're not only holding back and belittling your confidence that we were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
but you're delaying that time
Mm.
because you're your biggest critic. Who's with you 24/7?
Yeah. I am.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So even though you're doing something, you're thinking, is this even the right thing? Should I be doing this? Should I be taking more time away from my family? Should I start something new? Right? So you create all these doubts and these hesitations within yourself without realizing that this is just my life. This is my timeline. This is my path, regardless of what X, Y, and Z person has already done by this time. I have to accept my journey and be okay with what comes with it because this is my story.
Right.
You know, then because we don't realize like the inputs that we give our children, right? Right now, you're thinking about the physical thing that you could give them, but you don't realize the mental things that you're giving them. Your dad, you know, grinding, hustling, always making things move, making sure that the family is good. That's what they're going to remember.
Right.
They're not going to remember, oh, my dad bought me a Louis Vuitton bag
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. They're going to remember, hey, you know what? The reason why I am who I am today is because my dad, through his actions, taught me to always go after what I love, to always, no matter how long it took, to stay consistent and committed to it. Right.
You know, but that's a scary thing though. At the same time for me, because
Why is that?
because for instance, from the outside in, people look at, let's just say for instance my situation, people look at me as like, oh, this guy's been in the TV, this guy's been, you know, these places with these people. They see the pretty picture. They don't understand the struggle and the sacrifices that we go through, right? So it's the same thing with my kids. There's a lot of things that I don't tell them. There's a lot of things that I'm super transparent on them with. But like, for instance, my son, Ethan, shout out Ethan. He's my barber. He cuts my hair.
Yeah, clean.
So he picked that up. So he's been cutting hair already for a while. And I'm scared. I don't tell him, obviously now he's going to fucking hear, but I don't tell him like, hey, like sometimes I want to tell him like, hey, chill, like enjoy it, enjoy the process. Because you're gonna wake up one day and you're gonna be like, damn, it's been 5 years since I've been cutting hair, but I haven't really enjoyed my work, right? But then I also want to stay quiet because it's like he has to go through his own process and he has to become his own person. But I do feel that I'm influencing that on him, which is a great thing for a lot of people, right? Like, oh wow, your son's an entrepreneur just like you. But it's like, shit, I don't know if I fucked this fool up though, because maybe if I would have told them like, hey, you know what, like don't do entrepreneurship until after, focus on school first and figure out what you want to do and then, you know, try this out. I kind of just, I was like, hey, you want to be an entrepreneur? Fuck it. I'll buy you what do you want to do?
Setup,
You know, I was like, what do you want to do? I want to be a barber. Okay, cool. Do it for a year. That's all I ask. I'll invest in your thing. Just do it for a year. And he's been killing it. But it's like, shit, what did I do? You know, sometimes it's like,
I think that's kind of like, man, I want to say I don't have a hard time with this, right? But I think, again, we all have our own journey and our own process, right? You as a dad, and I think about this a lot, even with my son. I'm like, I want you to be greater than me, but damn, you're gonna go through some pain. You know, there's no way that you can skip that. You know, and if you try to allow for them to skip that, then you're only doing them a disservice because you wouldn't be who you are without the process that helped you become who you are. You know, even though it was painful, stressful, everything in between. But that is the beauty of the journey, you know, and I think again, it goes back to acceptance. Like the faster you accept that that's life, the faster you'll start to appreciate it. And even in the little things, understand that even if it is challenging, I'm grateful for it. Even if it is difficult, I'm thankful for it. Even if, you know, I feel like life's beating me up, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the kind of just the mindset shift that has helped me a lot in understanding that, yes, it's going to continue to be difficult. And I'll give you some more context. But one of my biggest mirrors is one of my clients. His name is Ivan. He is the owner of multi-million-dollar brand, Ensenada Brands, franchise restaurants. And I see him go through so much pain. That's like, I can only imagine what this guy is going through. You know, he's not just responsible for his family. He's responsible for hundreds of his employees. Yeah. That's a different type of pressure, you know? And I see him still walking in his path, walking in his journey. And every time I talk to him, he brings it back to God. He's like, this is my purpose. This is what he intended me to do. So who am I to not do it, regardless if it is painful or not? There's days that, you want to kind of just stick your head in the sand, but you just have to keep pushing, and I think the more that we accept that and we appreciate the responsibility that was given to us, I think that's when we really truly start to enjoy life and appreciate it a little bit more, because I think the inputs that you have that have made you kind of question your actions are inputs from people that are not in your shoes.
Right.
Are inputs from people that are not in they're not going into the direction that you're headed to.
Right.
And that's a completely different ball game. You can't, if you work at a regular job and you've worked there your entire life, your input does not contribute to me to where I'm headed. Not because you're less or I'm more, because we have completely different paths.
Right.
If I tell a person that's been an employee for all their life, hey, you should start your own business, and be like, you're crazy. Like, why would I leave stability? Why would I leave my medical benefits? Why would I, fear failing and, going into bankruptcy or whatever is, what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the place where I would suggest you kind of just see who you're getting your feedback from.
What I think about a lot is, like, I question, are entrepreneurs made, born, gifted? Because it's a different type of fucking mindset to be able to take the fucking pressure and pain that goes through what we go through, right? And I've seen a lot of people, obviously as an entrepreneur, people call you and they ask you how you do it and how they, and I tell them, like, hey, like, it's fucked up, like, it's not that fucking great, but it's if you enjoy it and if it's a passion of your film for me, it's passion of me, so I love it. But I noticed that not every person is meant to do it, and I'm not saying that as a talent wise. I'm just saying mentally, if you're so used to being in a company and having a structure, then it's like, you that's not gonna happen here because everything is so fucking random, right? So do you think that in the long term it's beneficial to be an entrepreneur just because depending your situation, right? But I'm thinking about it, like, for instance, my mom, right? My mom's getting to an age where she soon's not going to be able to work. Now, if I selfishly think, well, I can just book a couple things and just live my rest of my life, chill, and make a certain amount of money, X amount of dollars, and I'll be chilling for the rest of my life. Even my retirement, I'm chilling. But I'm thinking, like, more my mom, my dad, grandma, parents, aunt, uncles. I'm like,
I think it's less about entrepreneurship and more about awareness. And the reason why I say that is because, I've been in those situations too. I've had conversations with my sister, to where she's like, why do you feel like you need to carry everybody? Why do you feel like, you have this, and that, right? And because I do, right? But I always thought it was just going to be like financial, and I didn't put into the equation awareness, and so, for example, you're somebody that has now experienced a whole different life. You've dealt with people in different areas of life, whether it's in business, whether it's celebrity, whether it's talent, etc. You have new inputs into your brain that now you can transfer over to other people, right? And I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, right? Because, for example, like with me, when I started working with people that do financial literacy, and they started talking about, investments and life insurance policies and all these things, I started talking to my sister. I'm like, you gotta go and learn this, And she was like, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's so powerful. Like, you know what I mean? It's gonna help all of us and this and that. But it just wasn't her lane, you know? But then I continued to kind of, feed inputs of, hey, this is possible. Hey, this is possible. Hey, this is possible. And now she's like, okay, I can do that. That's something that I see myself in. And it's not necessarily them becoming an entrepreneur. It's just applying something different. Right. So my sister, she lives with my mom. She has 2 jobs, right? Her thing right now has been spending her money on shoes. That has been like her thing, And I'm like, okay, the same approach that you take in buying shoes, put that into an investment, put that into crypto, put that into, you know, a Roth IRA or cash value life insurance policy, things like that. Now she's like, I get it now. You know, she doesn't have to go and become an entrepreneur. She just has to be efficient with what she does with her money.
Right.
You know, so the same inputs with you and your mom or the people that you're trying to
preparing
help.
basically.
Just let them know of the things that you and I didn't grow up learning through them. Right? It's like, hey, you're here. Life expectancy is this much. What things do you have in plan for when you pass away?
Yeah.
Which is a tough conversation, right?
Right.
Oh, she doesn't have a life insurance? Get that. Oh, you don't have trust, so that if you do have something, you leave it to us and we don't have to go and fight it in court. Implement that, right? So it's these little things that contribute to the overall picture instead of telling them you got to go and become an entrepreneur and start a business to make more money.
Right.
It's just make more precise decisions now with the time frame that we have so that it doesn't mess up everything that we're trying to build. And it might not be in your generation, but your kids are going to be the ones that are going to, you know, be those trust fund babies that, you know, we hear about.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people talk about the money like, oh, money can't buy everything. I feel that they say that in a way where
they're trying to fight it.
But then I do think that what it's not about making the money. It's about getting that knowledge that you're talking about, right? Educating yourself into like learning things that you didn't know. Like when I purchased this house, I didn't know what a trust fund was, and if I die, then that means that my kids don't stay with the house. I thought automatically if something were to happen to me, I'm like, well,
transfer it over.
They transfer it over automatically, but they're like, no, like they take it away and then they have to fight for it.
In court.
They have to pay. So it's like
same thing with the will. People think that just because you leave a will, that's already that, and it's like, no.
and those are the things that, again, because you know, we're sometimes first generations on doing certain things. Like I'm like now like teaching that to my kids, and they're gonna learn that at an early age. So now they're gonna. So when I talk about my son and the fear of him becoming an entrepreneur, I'm now explaining and teaching them the mistakes that I made and that the things that I didn't know at an early age of my entrepreneurship career. On like, okay, this is where I fucked up, so don't do this. Try to adjust to this, because this is gonna bite you in the ass later on. I know it sucks right now, but if you kind of engrave and make it a habit to not be this type of fucking person, you're gonna fucking 100%. Be successful later on. You know, because there's like little things that I feel that people don't understand that can fuck you up. And I think back to when I was in school, and I remember there's a time where my teacher's like, I was fucking horrible, and my teacher's like, I think
most entrepreneurs are horrible at school.
She's like, hey, like you know, you guys need to turn in your homework. And I'm like, oh, damn. So everyone reaches out to their backpack, takes out their packet, you know, puts it on the desk, and she's all looking through all of them. And she looks at mine. She goes, where's your? It's like, oh, shit, my bad. And I'm like reaching into my backpack, and I'm like, I know it's not there. I know it's not there. So I'm bullshitting, you know. And she goes, all right, we're just going to wait for Adrian, because he's just, you know, he thinks that I don't know that he doesn't have his fucking homework, you know. And I'm like, those little things or those little moments,
thought processes,
of habits that I continue, that comes from back there. So if someone back then would have told me like, hey buddy, like if you don't fix this shit later on, when you have money, it don't matter how much you're gonna have, because you're gonna fucking just last minute do shit, and it's gonna bite you in the ass.
You know, it definitely sucks. I think for me, I kind of went through that early on, you know, after my brother passed away, my parents split up. I felt I was kind of like in that funk, you know, for a very long time. But you're a kid, so you don't really grasp what it really means, you know. Obviously, now that I'm older, I understand and I can see, you know, how it affected me and stuff like that. But
if you don't mind me, how old were you, and how old was your brother?
I was 9, I'm about to turn 10, and my brother was 8.
Okay.
Yeah, during that time.
Okay, damn. So you still remember?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, fuck. Like, you know. So I mean, it's a lot of these little things, right? And I think now that I've gone through my process and I've gotten to where I'm at, it's kind of like, now I get it. Now I understand why my mom was the way that she was, or why we had to go through what we had to go through, because it makes me appreciate the things that I have now. And if I didn't have that contrast, then what would it be for? You know? And again, it's because I think for me, and I'm pretty sure it's the same thing for you, the more you achieve, it kind of becomes normal, you know? So even if you were to get a bigger house, eventually it would feel Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need something different.
And it's
Right?
not that I don't appreciate it. It's
It's
just
just the
that it's
nature
like,
of it.
yeah, it's like what's
Mm,
next. And sometimes I do feel ungrateful.
mm,
I feel that I put that on myself where it's like, why are you not grateful for where you're at? You
yeah.
know, because it sucks because when you talk to family members or friends that are not in the position where you're
Yes.
at, and they're like, oh my God, bro, congrats. And I'm like, yeah, but I want more.
Mm.
They're like, I feel that they're taking in a sense of like, you are a
If you
fucking
only knew.
ungrateful ass motherfucker. You, if you only knew that that's my
Yeah.
our goal, right?
Angle. Yeah.
And for me, it's almost like I felt that at a certain time I was coming across as braggadocious
Mm.
because it's like, oh no, this is nothing. I'm gonna fucking go and
Mm-hmm.
get a fucking $1 million house, a $2 million house, right? But I was thinking that about in the mindset of like of as hunger, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I don't want to get like emotional, but this happened with my brother.
Mm.
My brother, when we first purchased this house, it was a collective, all my brothers
Mm.
coming together, and me telling them like, hey, let's all buy a house, and let's make this happen for my mom,
Mm.
right? When we bought it, the next day the house was empty. My brother came, we were in the backyard, and he's like, bro, we fucking did it.
Mm.
And the first fucking thing that I said, which fucking fucks with me till this day, was like, this is nothing, bro. We're gonna buy 5 more fucking houses. This guy was so excited and so like I fucked up his
Moment.
his moment of appreciating and him looking at it as we did this for my mom. We made this happen. Like we as brothers, my mom was single. Like we were fucking living like a fucked up life, and we did it. And my stupid ass fucked it up by saying, yeah, but this is nothing, bro. Like we're gonna get 5 more houses. We're gonna do like, and to this day, it just that those moments I think about them, and those are the reminders that I have to continue to give myself to be like, be grateful, you know, be happy, but then also strive for
Yeah, and I
more.
think it's just an exercise. You know, I think for me, I have this thing that I listen to every morning, or that I read every single morning for the same thing, just to experience gratitude. Same thing when I eat, to even to the little things, right? Because I've come to the realization that no matter what I do and how much I accomplish, I'm always gonna want more. That's in my nature.
Has there been a moment though where you did feel a little ungrateful, where we're not like ungrateful where it's like, oh, this doesn't matter, but in a way where you kind of caught yourself being like, shit, all right, chill, buddy.
Yeah, 100%. I think 2024 was that for me. Because there's, I mean, both you and I come from nothing, you know,
Yeah.
come from, waiting outside of churches to get food, living in garages, things like that.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I had to, how do I say this? Like, there was like a sense of, how do I explain this? Like feeling not enough, you know what I mean? And I think in that feeling of not enough, you try to overcompensate with other things, whether it's material things, whether it's money, whether it's whatever, right? Everybody has different vices. So for me, I started, spending money on designer, doing this, and I'm like, why do I feel like it's not me at the end of it? It's not fulfilling, it's not rewarding. And so I think in that context, I had to come to the realization that I was trying to heal a part of me that I was still holding on to with the wrong things, And I'm grateful that I didn't have to experience it in a way where it affected me in terms of like financially, but it just cost how would you say, like a deep work session that ended up being full 1 year of understanding why I was the way that I was,
Right.
or why I was doing certain actions that I thought that maybe I needed to do, right? And some of it maybe came from the people that I was around, the way that they would carry themselves and stuff like that. But I just felt like that wasn't who I was,
Right.
Obviously, don't get me wrong, like I still love, things like that, but it's not. Yeah, I don't chase it because I think it's gonna make me feel
Better. Or complete.
Exactly. So now it's just something that I just kind of like, and I'll get it. But in that deep work, that's when you start to kind of understand, that there is a deeper issue. There is a deeper issue that you still have to overcome, and sometimes you might not even be aware of it until you start to forcefully have to sit down and analyze yourself and say, why am I like this?
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that you were wrong in that moment to say, hey, we're going to have that much more. Because I think at the root of it, you were trying to say, hey, like, I know we're excited and I'm grateful in this very moment, but you were processing as in like, I'm responsible for my family and I'm going to give them more, and we're going to go for more. So everything that we lacked is going to be compensated for what we're going to achieve next.
Yeah.
You know, but again, it's just in our nature to be that way, you know. And same thing with me. It's like, I've had experiences and I've had things where I'm like, this is cool, but what's next? That doesn't mean that I wasn't grateful for it. I was thankful for it, but it's just,
that was a mindset.
It's your passion, you know. It's like, I was listening to the interview that they did of Ozuna when he had just got that like $100 million contract with like Sony or something like that.
Was it in his house, the interview?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I think I remember.
And then he starts kind of hearing word that people are talking bad about him because his grandma still works, you know. And he was like, well, people don't realize that if I take my grandma from working, she's gonna die, because that's her sense of purpose. So it's the same thing with you and I. Our sense of purpose is to always strive for more. You know what I mean? That's in our nature, and that's God's gift to us. Obviously, in that journey, you know, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, when you're in a better situation, maybe it's financially, maybe it's emotionally, maybe it's spiritually, you're gonna make a better decision, right? Now you're gonna think from, hey, I've done enough to where if I no longer move, if I no longer pursue anything, my family is gonna be okay. Nothing that I can do anymore is gonna either get us more solid or really build any solid foundation. There's enough. Now your decisions are gonna be different, because you know nothing can break that, right? But you have to experience that in order for you to be able to reflect and analyze, hey, this is okay. Have you ever watched the Ferrari versus Lamborghini movie?
Yeah.
So that for me was like a when he starts racing, because at this whole time he's racing versus Lamborghini, right? And it was an analogy of he's always competing, always chasing, and that's why he's lost and sacrificed so much in that journey, to where he had to make the decision: I can continue to keep competing, or I now just, it's time. You know, he's done everything. He's affected so many people. I mean, his name is a staple, but at what cost? So continue to go down that path is going to come at a cost. There just has to be a time where that cost is no longer worth it. You know, as of right now, both you and I are still in a season where there's still work to be done. So therefore, we can't take on that luxury of stopping that hunt and that chase, because we know there's still work to be done. Maybe once we're there, we'll reanalyze, maybe even seek forgiveness within ourselves, or forgive ourselves for maybe affecting people or not spending that quality time like we wish we did.
Right.
But that's in our nature, and that's in our sense of purpose. You know? And God wouldn't have placed that onto us if it wasn't going to serve a purpose. Yeah,
there's so many questions that I have when it comes down to, like, you know how, like, before you're an entrepreneur, or before you have money, or before you have a job, you ask your parents, like, oh, how much do you get paid, right? You have these questions on the future, right? And you're asking those questions because you want to be able to know, I'm assuming as a kid, you're trying to process, okay, what's my life going to be like then? You know, like, if she's making this much, okay, cool. So you start asking the other person, how much do you make? So I love talking to older people, because I feel that obviously we're going over there, you know, and I really want to analyze the true importance of what their mindset is, because they have a completely different mindset, because it's already not game over. I don't want to say it like that, but it's already, like, you know, at the time. So for them, the conversations that I continue to get is like, be present and enjoy every single moment with your family, because once everyone starts disappearing one by one, it's just kind of the saddest thing in the world, because it's like, shit, where they're at. And then you start reflecting on, like, your when you were young, and you start analyzing and seeing, like, outside perspective. I'm like, damn,
I had a good.
All they wanted was to watch a movie. All they wanted was to go to the park. All they wanted was an ice cream. And my fucking mindset was just continuing to do this thing, you know. And although you're providing, although you're achieving all the things that can give them that, those little tiny moments are the ones that really, really matter to the ones around you.
100%.
So I like to listen to different people's perspective for me to kind of balance,
analyze
and be like, okay, cool. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put that into practice. But then I'm also going to have a conversation with them and be like, hey, look, like on Sunday, we'll go out for ice cream. On this week, we'll do this. But the next week, I'm just letting you know, I need to fucking work. I think that has helped me in my process. One of the questions that I have for you is when it comes down to grinding, right? In the beginning of our career, it's almost like if they just shoot that fucking gun and we're like, bomb.
Yeah.
Why do you think that I may be speaking for myself or, for a little bit of us, but why do you think that a lot of entrepreneurs slow down once they hit a certain amount or achieve a certain success?
Again, I keep bringing back last year, but I think a lot of it for me was the same thing, where it's like, hey, I've achieved a monthly revenue goal that I'm happy with, that gives me the commodity that, I want to give it to my family and etc. But I had those thoughts of like, why do I feel like I'm slowing down? Right. And again, I had a lot of deep work and I was just trying to rush the process. I'm like, okay, I know that this is my season to go into that deep work, but let me just hurry it up so I can get back to that grind and that hunt. Right. And then in that journey, I realized that even though it feels different, it's the same thing, right? Because a lot of times when we like you said, you shoot the gun and you just go, what happens for the most part? You're bumping your head into a freaking wall the majority of the time.
Yeah.
Right. Now you're more wise, so now you're like, I've done that before. I'm not gonna do that. Now every move that I make has to be precise, intentional, and I have a more of a clear.
So it may not be slowing down.
It's not slowing down, it's just being more intentional. It's like
that makes sense.
It's a completely different approach, right? Because when you don't have anything to validate your vision or who you want to be, you're just like trying to figure it out, bump your head so many times, fall, get back up, do it again, blah, blah, blah. Once you've experienced that so many times, you're like, hey, you know what? I don't need to do that. Let me analyze these 3 different paths. Okay, that's going to make me fall. That's going to make me do this. Okay, this one might take a little bit longer, but I know I'm going to get there in a certain amount of time. Okay, let me just go and do that.
Yeah.
So now you're being more aware and intelligent with your decisions rather than just bumping your head into a wall just to feel like you're doing something.
What is something that you've gone through or you've maybe realized in the process of your career that has like, damn, dude, I was great on that. I really was a fucking great, I don't know, real estate content creator or whatever, like whatever you think. But for me, looking back at the podcast, trying to bring it back, I look at all the guests that came and how appreciated they were of me inviting them and how they're like, dude, I can't believe I'm here because of the guests you've had here, and them just praising. And I just, that for some reason at the time, it just kind of went through I didn't really take that in. It was more like I didn't, it's just, I didn't process that. Right. But going back at it, I'm looking at the interviews and I'm looking at the questions that I'm saying. I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. Like I didn't know I had that. I don't even know if I have that now. Right. But I just realized like I was great. I was doing a good job with the podcast. I was a good interviewer, as people were saying, which I never accepted. What is something that you have realized that you were great in that you really didn't,
I think it's highlighting people's greatness, kind of like you and I had a private conversation and you had this idea of who you think you are. And then I'm able to be like, no, bro, you're just seeing it the completely wrong way. You are this and you are this and you are that. Right. And I think that's why I even thrive on social media, helping business owners and brands grow, because I'm able to see their potential without them seeing it themselves. A lot of the times where we struggle is with seeing the potential within ourselves, because we don't want to accept it. We don't want to give ourselves praise because, again, either our upbringing, childhood trauma, you don't know how to accept a compliment because your whole upbringing was you suck at this, you're never going to be anything.
Don't be a show off.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's all these things that we have to kind of overcome to then be able to see our skill set and our talent, and not from a place of arrogance, but from a place of understanding your gift,
Mm.
you know. And now that you've accepted it and you became aware of it, now it's, instead of me trying to prove that I'm great at what I'm doing it for somebody else, let me see how great I could be doing it for myself.
Mm.
And I think a lot of us as creatives, we always play a supporting character to somebody else's greatness,
Yeah,
you
that makes
know?
sense.
And when it comes to highlighting our own, we're like, nah, because what are people going to think, you know? If I say this, or if I, you know, do X, Y, and Z, what are people going to say? And so in that portion of it, that's where we start to struggle and we leave ourselves behind, when in reality, the same gift that we're giving to others is the exact same gift that we could have given to us to help our family.
How was that moment like for you when you realized that you were going to be able to take care of your family?
I want to say just recently, to be honest, you know, because I think you can achieve something, but you don't know when it's going to end. Or at least you kind of have, again, coming from nothing, you're like, okay, why is things going so good? When is this going to end? Right? You start having these like weird thought processes. But I think we made it our objective, because I mean, everything else is taken care of, like, you know, to buy a house, right? It's a $1.9 million house. And so that gave me like a sense of like, bro, just a couple years ago, you couldn't even put $50 into crypto or into a Roth IRA or anything,
Yeah.
because it was, you didn't have the money to do it, and it wasn't going to change your life at all.
Right.
When did that become this? Right? When did this become a conversation? When did it become to where you're able to afford two different places, still be able to travel, still be able to do everything that you love, still be able to invest back into the business? When did that happen? You know? And now that I've gone through that season of internal work, I've now come to that realization, like, okay, now I've accepted it. You know, I think somewhat, and I'm pretty sure you probably feel the same way. Everything that you've done, you're still kind of in denial of it, and you kind of feel like you're unworthy of it.
Right.
Now that I've accepted that, hey, this is the direction that I am gonna go into, and I've accepted and I embrace it, and I'm grateful for it. Dang, now I see life completely different, because it's no longer on a fear or scarcity mindset. Now I see it as in like, damn, the possibilities are endless. So now that I see that the possibilities are endless, I'm grateful for everything that I know I'm going to do.
So the goal is to purchase that. Is that because of a sense of achievement, a goal, I made it moment? Like, what is like the emotional side? Maybe financially makes sense
Yeah.
for you, but like, what is the?
To be honest, I've never, for me, I'm the type of person, I've never seen a house. I mean, maybe when I was barely beginning in my journey, it's hearing other people talk about house being the end goal. I was excited about it, but then the more that I went into my journey and in business, I started to realize like a house isn't the end goal for me.
So it's
You
not
know,
like a forever home for you.
it's just not my peak per se, right?
Right.
For a lot of us, as you know, first generation, it's a great thing to accomplish, right? But for me, I would always see it as in like, I don't want to be like house broke per se, right? Once I understood the business side of things, because a business is always forever going to be able to be more profitable and bring you more peace than a house, right? That's kind of how I saw it.
Right.
For me now, it's more of still being able to see my kids live out their best childhood in a house that I wish maybe I could have been in, and maybe recording those moments in my brain, seeing them grow and run and play and do all these things. It's more of that than anything else, you know? And me and my lady talk about this all the time, where it's like, we don't see it as in like, I want to buy the house because that's the end goal. We just want to have a place where our kids can go and run and do all these things and stuff like that. It's more of a, how you say, like a, como melancólico.
Yeah.
You know, more from that aspect than anything else.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But obviously, I want a nice house too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Of course. I mean, everyone does. You know, what's crazy that what I appreciate about you, or like getting to know you in a deeper level. I mean, we've known each other for a while, but you know, we've not been connected, you know, in person and stuff. But what I appreciate and what I like about you, bro, is that you have a lot of knowledge of financially, mentally, spirited, But then you also come across as very humble, because over these past couple months that I've been talking to investors on a project that I'm working on behind the scenes, almost every single person that have spoken to that has money, I'm talking $1 million, like millions of dollars, they flaunt how much they can buy. I can buy a jet if I wanted to. I can buy a yacht if I wanted to. And when it comes down to like giving knowledge to people or to educating me or to, because they're also not friends, but they're, acquaintances and people that I know. That's what I'm like, why do people turn like that? Why? And I appreciate that I'm going through that right now, because I'm like, that's not who I want to fucking become.
Just internal work, man. I think at the end of the day, it's like just a lot of deep work, bro, to be honest. I always question myself, why do I think this? Because I've had those moments too where it's like, I've achieved something, I should talk about it, I should, but then I realized, well, where's that coming from? It's coming from a sense of maybe not feeling enough, or maybe from feeling a sense where I need to receive that feedback, or I need to make people know that I am that, so that I can feel like I am enough, And so I think for me, it has been a lot of accepting and analyzing my flaws and realizing my traumas and kind of accepting them and knowing why I might do certain things. I do that every single day, and sometimes I hate myself for that, because it's like, if you were just to go and not think about anybody else, you would be so much ahead. But because I always have this thought process in the back of my mind of like,
you feel that that's what's holding you back?
No, I think now, no, because I no longer seek to impress.
Right. But you wouldn't mind saying like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, I made fucking a shitload of money last.
I would say in the context of the conversation.
Okay.
I think if you were to like, talking about business, because we both kind of run similar businesses. If you're like, hey, what did you do to make this much amount of money, or how can I get to that? I'd be like, oh, well, here's how much I made, or I did this. I made this decision and this brought me back this much. I think in that context, yes. But I think in terms of just to have people feel like I am somebody, I wouldn't do that, because like, even I'll give you some context, right? When I'm with my family, not just like my immediate family, but when I'm around other people, I don't like wearing designer, because I feel like I'm flexing on them, right? Not like I'm trying to, but it just kind of feels that way towards me, And so I choose not to, and even a lot of it in that internal work. And again, like I said, my client Evan's like a mirror for me. I want to be great without ever making it about the money or the things that I have. I want to be great with the wisdom that I share, with the knowledge that I share, and the things that come out of my mouth over my possessions or what I've been able to accomplish.
But you think that's kind of bad though, in a way that you're not like, I mean, if you have a sweater that you really fucking like and you want to wear it, and you're just like constantly,
not like I'll wear it.
I can't fucking wear that shit because I'm about to go to this person's house.
No, I think that's being respectful. Because if it was in another context, I would wear it. I don't have a problem wearing it. I mean, on this podcast, I'm wearing these glasses. I'm
just saying, because like I had that thought process too, right? But then it's like, for me, it was like the car. Like, I don't want to park the car in front of the fucking house. I'm gonna park it all the way over there, and then I'm gonna walk. That way they don't see, But then at the end of the day, like,
that could be trauma too.
It's my fucking car. Like, what the fuck? It's my my shit. So I would talk about that, because when my family would talk about, I would go to the events, right? And my kids would always be like, why do you never want to go to the events, to my family's parties? I never want to fucking go, right? And it's not because I have hate towards them or anything. I just feel, for me, it's hard for me to have a conversation with them, because all they're talking about is work.
Yes.
They're talking about, this manager did this and this property and this. But then when they ask me, like, my work revolves around all these celebrities and
Yeah.
all these people. So when I start talking about that, it just feels like
Yeah.
it's like,
Awkward.
awkward. So now it's like, I don't fit
Yeah.
here to talk about. And so it's like, now I have to think about what else can I talk about with them that has nothing to do with my work. What can I talk about? Like, okay, I start trying to reminisce
Yeah.
things in order for us to have a conversation.
But I do agree with you. I think it is somewhat of a trauma, to where it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still haven't solved
That part.
that part, as to why,
Yeah.
because I think, or maybe I do, because I think I do care. Again, I hold myself to a certain standard, right? And when I feel kind of weird about it, that's why I'm like, why do I feel that way, And so I much rather just kind of
Yeah.
pause it. But I do agree with you. That is a trauma.
I do feel that that's a good thing though. We question because that kind of gives us that humility on like, okay, being cautious about what we're saying and the things that we express, because even my kids, like, they'll tell me like, oh, my cousin said this about me. I'm lucky that I have a room, and that, and obviously they're kids, so they think that we have in house is like we're fucking rich, right? And my daughter is like, oh, we'll have to. I just kind of stay quiet and just, I don't really, and I love that about them, that they're aware that there shouldn't be, oh yeah, we have a house and you don't, or, I have my own room and you don't. Like, they've never been those types of kids, and I fucking love them for that. But that's what I mean by, like, I think to a certain extent, yeah, there is the context on like, okay, we should be able to express ourselves in terms of like what we actually do, but then at the same time, with that respectful, not belittling,
100%,
way of talking about it. So that's what I mean by I met so many people that are like that, and it's like, shit, man, that sucks.
Yeah,
bro. Like, you are a really good person, but the way that you express yourself is not motivating. If that's
I forget
what
who said this, but it said something along the lines of like, some people are so poor, all they have is money. And I think poor isn't just in the context of money, but it's in what's in you. Like your awareness, your self-development, the way you are, the way that you carry yourself, and things like that. It's a lot of deep work. But I think we are a society that, again, even with social media, right? It's certain things that I even have a conversation with my daughter, and I'm like, hey, just because you're gonna get to an age where you're gonna have access to social media, I want you to know who you are before you get onto any platform. And the reason why is because on social media, it's going to seem a certain way where people will accept OnlyFans or think that twerking and all that is okay, or speaking a certain way as a woman, as a man too as well, is okay just because it's cool on social media, right? But that doesn't define who you are, right? So you have to be able to stand firm in your beliefs and who you are in reality and in your household before you accept and try to, do what everybody else is doing on social media, And I think that's a lot of deep work. That's
that's tough.
1% of people that have that. I've met people that have no social media. I give social media somewhat of a value because that's what I do in my career.
It's your living.
But then I also appreciate those who have no interest in, because imagine if you and I both were in business and we didn't depend on social media, if we didn't depend on the entertainment aspect of it, how much further would we be?
Yeah.
Because in some shape or form, you and I seek somewhat validation through the things that we post.
Right.
We seek somewhat of attention.
Yeah.
By
strategize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even those metrics of having followers still affect us, maybe not in the way where we do everything and anything just to get more, but it's still a metric that we give value to.
Yeah.
But there's people that
don't
have that, how would you say it? Like, they don't play, or they're not bounded by
social media
and all that. And I admire that and I appreciate that, because I also wonder, who would I be if this wasn't,
that
like,
makes sense.
I listen to a lot of stuff that has to do about history and obviously now faith, and just really doing a lot of personal development and awareness. And I'm like, wow, like, these people have spent 16 years understanding manuscripts, understanding the when this happened and when this happened, and doing all these research, and I'm like, I want to do that,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But then again, my path is different,
Yeah.
you know, and I have to be at a specific place in my life to where I can give that time and devotion to be able to do that.
We have to adjust
Exactly.
to what we're gonna do now.
Bro, even like something as simple as like I get anxious.
You get anxious.
Yeah, like when I'm not on my phone.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Like in what way though? What do you mean?
Like in I'm like um obviously my career is social media, right?
Yeah.
And I help other people be in social media. I'm always like, what if they hit me up and they need something, you know? Because I like that whole, I like holding myself to that standard to where it's like, if they need something, I'm fast
there,
with it,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know? And sometimes I'm like, no, like I gotta
Yeah,
detach and be okay with it. Because sometimes too, like I don't know if you ever had this where I'm trying to check out and be with the family, but then in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, what if so and so texts me? So I'm just kind of holding on to my phone, and then for the next 2-3 hours, nothing happens. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't fully be there because I was thinking about what ifs, you know. And so I've now kind of gone into more of just
you
put it on sleep mode at 6-7 p.m. I'm not touching that thing anymore, you know.
Yeah, because people don't realize that opportunities. There's been times where because I was 2 minutes late to that text, I've lost thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that. Like, that's how it might sound like, dude, it's 2 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
But those 2 minutes can make a big fucking difference in terms of like
nowadays, you know.
Yeah, and in terms of like where your career is gonna pivot.
Yeah.
You know, because there's been opportunities where I've gotten where it's like, damn, if I didn't fucking pick up that call,
I wouldn't have
gotten this person. I wouldn't have met all these people. It's just that one fucking moment. And so I get what you're saying. So yeah, I have a hard time with that. My daughter's like old enough to where she's like, put your phone over there.
Yeah.
You're not gonna watch. Yeah. We're gonna watch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like,
I think even to add to that, one of the things to kind of help me navigate through that. So now I have a team of setters. I don't know if you're familiar with what a setter is.
No.
So essentially what these people do is like they'll go through your DMs, they'll nurture the conversation, they'll conversate with the person.
Okay.
I was speaking to you directly when you were talking.
Like,
right?
what? Who am I talking to?
Because there's specific criteria of avatars that they can only go after. Like I have friends, family.
Okay.
They'll message these people. Right.
Do you have them separated? And sorry, I don't want to fuck your shit up, but do you have them separated within like general or primary?
Yes. So
all the generals,
they handle that.
Okay, cool.
Primaries are mine.
Okay, so that's how I have structured too. Yeah, cool.
But they basically kind of nurture these conversations. Like, obviously, I'm running ads on social media. So whenever an ad comes in, they hit a specific keyword, I would feel anxious because I'm like, I got to be there, right? So now you're talking 7, 8 p.m. and I'm over here trying to nurture that relationship because that's an opportunity that's right then and there. So, and even in this transition, I'm like, you know what? Let me just give somebody a percentage of the deal just so that they can manage them. That's obviously going to increase my chances because they're going to be there more active than I am. And I get to detach and just be with my family, you know?
Yeah. How hard is it to, what do you think is the difference between finding someone that's very capable of doing the job and like scary at the same time? Because, obviously financially you can be like, fuck it, I'll pay you what you're asked for. But like the delivery is like what's sometimes fucks me up.
Yeah.
Because I know what type of person I am, and I know how I would answer, how I would close them, right? But giving that responsibility to someone else.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of accepting that it's a process, you know? And I think just like success, right? There's so many ways to achieve the same outcome. So your way isn't the only way. There's multiple different ways. So I think when I understood that, it was like, okay, just because I would respond this way,
that might not be,
you know. And then what if this person is way better than me? Then who am I to say, hey, you got to do it this way, right? Obviously, there's certain criterias in which you're like, hey, I don't want you to ask this, and I don't want you to say it this way.
Yeah.
So they kind of tweak it around there. But for the most part, I mean, they do an amazing job.
So what is something that you had to kind of adjust or modify to your work, the way that you work, because that was not the way that you would do things?
Done is better than perfect.
Okay.
You know, you and I are always going to seek perfectionism because that's who we are, and we think that we do it the best because it is our business. But I mean, look at a Gary Vee, look at anybody else, they're not there physically doing the
Right.
whole thing, and people are still gravitating towards them, and they're still getting the job done. So who am I to think that my way is the only way, you
Right.
know? And accepting that it's definitely a challenge, because I'll go back and forth with the guy who manages the setter, and I'll be like, why did she say this, or why this person brought it up like this, right? So obviously I have a like a community, and so one of our criteria is for them to be able to make X amount of money, right? But the way that she was saying it was, how much do you have saved up?
Mm.
And I think for me, that's a very personal question that I don't, because again, it's still a representation of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want that to be the question. Rephrase it different. You know,
Mm.
say, hey, maybe how much do you have to invest into yourself if this was an opportunity that can take you to where you want to be,
Mm.
right? So little things like that you just kind of pivot and improve upon. But I mean, done is better than perfect. You know?
An interesting question that I had for you was, when it comes down to like knowing your purpose and
Mhm.
knowing like what you should go after, how difficult was that for you? Because a lot of times we tend to like nibble on so many fucking things,
Yes.
right? And that gets us places,
Mhm.
but doesn't get us very far,
Mhm.
right? I always
It
say that
creates the illusion of
yeah,
movement.
yeah. It's like, oh shit, yeah, I'm doing something.
Yeah.
I'm somebody, right?
Mhm.
I'm trending, dude. But at the same time, you're not going that
Mm-mm.
far. How hard was it for you to be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go on this one and I'm gonna try to hit it hard?
I think for me, it was again, you and I kind of share similar paths, right? When I started doing stuff for like influencers, and then even Nathaniel Cano, like that video did nothing for me in terms of like revenue wise,
Yeah.
you know. And I think for me, revenue is a very important metric.
Yeah, me too.
Everyone. And so when I realized that, I'm like, damn. So even these opportunities
Yeah.
don't make a dent into what you're
Mm-mm.
trying to accomplish, right? And then so I'm like, okay, what brings me money, what moves the needle, and what doesn't, right? Sometimes hanging around with certain people or going and during certain activities might look like you're doing something, but in reality, it doesn't really make an impact in what you're trying to accomplish, right? And so I had to kind of dial that down and really align with the things that I needed to do so that I can just double down on that. And then obviously, yeah, it's kind of like you get a little bit of FOMO kind of, you know, at the beginning, because you're like, man, I could have been doing that, or I could have maybe gone to this trip, or, you know, I could have said yes to that. But then it's like, at the end of the day, like, who are you doing it for? You know, you're doing it for strangers, or are you doing it for your family? And so I think when I place it in that balance, obviously my family weighs a lot more than, you know, what other people are going to think or, you know, perceive of. And so that just gave me the confidence to just fully be locked in, you know, and it's cool, right? Because my family gets to see a daily improvement and a daily step towards, you know, what we're trying to accomplish together. And so that just, what more validation do you need, you know?
I don't want to go,
but it is hard.
Yeah, because it's like, you're like, shit, what if it's not the right?
Well, I mean, I think it's not that it isn't the right thing to do, but it's a painful process of dying to yourself. You know, and I posted a video about that the other day where it's, I think the closer that I got to God, the more that I realized that I wasn't as close to him as I thought. You know, because we do certain things, we move a certain way. We might say certain things also too that doesn't align with, you know, walking in that path, you know. And so I've had to stop myself from certain type of music, hanging out with certain type of people, etc. Not because I think I'm better, but it's just who, like, my path is different,
right?
You know. And it is scary because I'm still gonna be judged, but I'm dying to myself, and in that process, and knowing that I'm going through that process, I feel content with myself and I feel happy because I'm like, okay, you're standing for what you truly are. And so now I'm really in that season where I'm fully embracing who I am, regardless of how other people might perceive me, you know. And I think that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, where you're kind of in that transition period where you're figuring out who you are. Now it's just fully walking in it.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Influence Me. Today we are here with a very special guest, someone that came back because I wanted to pick his brain and I wanted to learn a lot of the things that he's learned because it's been about 4 years, 3 years that we haven't sat down and had a conversation. So with us today, Jose, you're a social media guy.
What's up? Appreciate you having me, bro.
So I'm gonna say straight up, like we've been talking for like 2 hours already.
Yeah, we've been going in.
We've been going in. And I like that because it's like very deep conversations and conversations that I feel that not a lot of entrepreneurs get to have a lot of the times because we're always like working together and we're on a mission to like, okay, we're here in this project, so let's just work.
Yeah.
So it's cool that I'm able to pick your brain and learn a lot of the things that you are talking about because as entrepreneurs, I feel that we do feel like we are by ourselves a lot of the times. You know, a lot of the things that we go through, we're like, shit, like, why am I the only one going through? You know, but in reality, a lot of people go through the same situations or sometimes similar. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I know you drove, you know, a couple hours.
I appreciate you having me, bro. I think you and I always have, you know, super dope conversations, you know, so.
Since the last time you were here, there's been so many like changes in your life, ups, downs, moments of growth, moments of realizations, knowing what's valuable, not valuable, knowing, you know, who you are as a person. I don't want you, you know, to hit certain spots, you know, or to put you on the spot, but you uploaded a YouTube video a while back where you just fucking poured yourself out. Why? What made you decide to do that video, and how did that help you?
You know, I think for maybe a lot of the reasons why you have your podcast, you know, because you know there's an impact to be made. You know, you've known the pain, the process, the struggles that it took for you to accept a certain thing or to understand a certain thing. So you want to, you know, overflow and pass it on to other people. So I think for me it was that. And I think, you know, obviously, you know, when it comes to like the social media space, you know, there's a lot of stuff that's cited towards women and, you know, that side of things, but also for us as guys, you know, in entrepreneurship and in business and just as men in general, there isn't a lot of people that are comfortable being vulnerable and speaking about certain situations that can maybe shift the decisions that you're going to have tomorrow based on an input that you've now gotten from somebody that might be a couple steps ahead of you, not financially or anything like that, but maybe when it comes to like the emotional intelligence aspect of it, right? So I personally wanted to share it. I think, you know, I went through a season where, you know, there was a lot of realization of things that I needed to understand within myself. And once I became aware of it, I'm like, I can only imagine how many more men carry the same weight and the same pressure and have no outlet or don't have the awareness to be able to have that deep work to understand that there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
It's just a byproduct of accepting and growing within your journey. But, you know, I think a lot of times like people categorize you know, if you're vulnerable, you're emotional, which isn't the case. It's just you're emotionally intelligent.
Los hombres no lloran, they say,
exactly.
Right?
You know, and I think it was just more of that, you know, and I think it felt good, you know, to just kind of be able to put it out there. And
was it scary?
You know,
in your mind, that moment, was it like, because obviously you recorded it.
Yeah.
Another thing is editing it and uploading it.
Yeah.
What was it like editing that video? And was it hard for you to make that decision to put it out there?
Definitely from like a human standpoint, yes, you know, but I'm a firm believer in God. So I'm like, if I'm thinking this and I have the urge and the want to do it, it's for a reason, you know, even though for me, it might feel like I'm being vulnerable and I'm being, you know, maybe putting myself out there for people's perception, but there's a purpose behind it. You know, I'm a firm believer that everything that comes through here or that you process or that you know, experience is for you to be able to put it out there and allow other people to impact, you know, and be able to maybe see it differently. Right. And the reason why I say that is because even on my social media, sometimes I'll just go on there and just rant about something that I'm thinking or something that I, you know, I'm going through or have gone through. And then my DMs are like, yo, thank you for sharing this. I was going through something similar. Right. So in that impact, it kind of gave me that confidence to be able to put it out. But it is scary. And to be honest, like I privated it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. It's not
I privated it. And I think there is a level of, and maybe I don't know if I'm doing the right decision, right? But I no longer want people to see me bleed, you know, for their own entertainment. And I think my mission at that time was different. And I think now I'm in a place in my life where it's like, you can want the best for people, but that doesn't mean that they're going to take it with the right intentions, you know? And yeah, I'll be vulnerable. I'll still share stuff here and there, but maybe not that personal, you know?
But why, I don't want to challenge you on that, you know, but
No,
like, why,
it's, yeah.
but why let those fucking, cause I'm pretty sure you're talking about those people that create those chisme channels or haters and, you know, people that take it out of context, certain conversations. Right. And I think that's what sucks, that sometimes we do want to be, I mean, in this podcast alone, I've shared so many things that I've gone through personally that maybe backlash with certain people that saw me like, fuck, I did that to him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I feel that if we don't have a voice, if we don't have that permission to ourselves to be like, this is what I fucking think, then we're not gonna grow mentally in terms of like, have that peace of mind on like, you know what, I said what I needed to say. And if I know this helped a lot of people, so like, why let them win?
I don't think it's them necessarily. I just think I just didn't want to be that vulnerable. You know what I mean? I think it was something, I don't know. I mean, you're bringing up a great point, you know.
Sorry, I don't
think, no, it's I mean, that's the whole purpose of these conversations, right? To be able to have different inputs, you know. And I think it's a great question, and it's something that I might have to reflect on and sit with it, and you know, make a decision from there. But you know, I think we're always evolving.
It was a really good video, bro. And the reason why I say that is because I related to that, right? That's I'm coming about it from that type of perspective, and so many times we see that sometimes evil is more loud than good, you know, and you see that across a lot of social media right now.
Yeah, just social media in general.
It's just very toxic and very, I don't know, it's just very bad.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of bad shit on social.
I think you brought a great point, and I think obviously as we're speaking, my brain is like processing, right? And so, I mean, you and I, you know, prior to, because this is going to be the intro, right? We had a super long conversation prior to this, but we were talking about me being more accepting about who I am, you know, and just kind of fully walking in that. And right now that you said that, I'm like, damn, like that's actually a really good point. Like, why? Maybe it was based on how I was feeling that specific day that I made that decision. But yeah, you know, I might have to.
Yeah, there's been people that I've done podcasts with where they'll tell me like, oh, can you take that down because of the things that I said? They're not who I am no more. And I'm like, and because
that could be a portion too, because I no longer feel that weak anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I'm like, okay, well, I get in a sense of like, maybe they said something that they do not agree with no more or stand by no more, and that can bite them in the ass later on if they become super successful, right? And I respect that. But I also do feel that we have to accept who we are at the particular moment, you know, because it was emotional, right? It was very, you poured your heart out, you know, and that was very cool to see, because there's not a lot of, especially men that would do something like that. So I mean, I just look at it in a perspective of like, damn, I do see a lot of TikTok videos on and everything is super negative, and it starts becoming a trend to be negative. If someone says something negative, it's like now popular, you know, it's popular to be negative. So now everyone, and it's like, what the fuck?
And I agree with that. I think you know, I've you know, shared my inputs and my thoughts too on, you know, the current state of depression right now. You know, right now being depressed is a cool thing. Having anxiety is a cool thing. You know, it's like maybe how back in the day when you and I were growing up, putting a sock in between your thing, that was a cool thing. Now looking back, you're like, damn, that was
the fuck?
Exactly, right? But I think even now when it comes to like social media, there's certain things that are trends, but people can't realize that it's more of a trend than an actual thing that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you
and
get
just
that.
for views, I've seen a lot of people do like some crazy videos for views, and I'm like, dude, like people are actually going through that. Like, why are you, you know? And it's hard because sometimes it gets to the point where like the lines get blurry, where you don't even know if it's real or not.
Bro, perfect example. I did a video of skit with one of the brands that I work with, and it's basically this. It's supposed to be a humorous piece. I wasn't even thinking some of the responses that we were got, right? And so in the context of the video, it's I basically walk by this restaurant. It's like a taqueria, and then so the girl is like, "Hey, can you hold my broom for me?" And I'm like,
Oh, I
"Oh
saw that
yeah,
one. Yeah, yeah.
And then
I'll put it here.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then at the end of it, it's like they make this whole narrative,
Yeah.
right? But it was supposed to be funny, right?
Yeah.
And then some of the comments, people were like, "Oh, crazy how this reflects the whole influencer space. Oh, it's crazy how this reflects how some people, And I was like, damn, I wasn't even thinking about that. But again, everybody creates their own narrative,
But I mean, that was clearly
a skit.
A skit.
But think about that. Even how you were talking about blurred lines. One of the things that I've experienced with like having videos go viral is that even if it's clear as day that it's a skit, some people take it as in it's for real.
Yeah, I do.
Like
see that
they don't have that awareness to understand that it's just a skit. Like Anita did a video where she put on the header like se enoja conmigo porque dice que soy chiqueada pero se le olvida que me crió. Right? Just by her using the word crió, people in the comments are like, is that her dad? Or you know what I mean? Like all these crazy things, right? But and that's like how can people perceive it this way? But again, like
I do see a lot of videos like that where it's like I see the comments and honestly, like there's a lot of videos that I just go straight to the comments because I'm like, I wonder what the fuck.
Like, I
already know if people are gonna believe this and not take it the right way or whatever. And that's the thing, that the reality of like social media right now is that's what's scary right now, bro.
Yeah.
Honestly, mentally, it has put me in a place where it's like, I don't know if I want to be a content creator because the things that you have to do to go viral right now are crazy. And that's not my, that's not my, who I stand for.
100%.
Like, that's not who my character. I cannot bullshit people. Like, that's not, that we know how to create content, and I know what you need, hooks and all this shit in order for you to create a viral TikTok. But you guarantee that there's the 99% of the time the video that's going to go viral is the one that has controversy, fucking negativity, all that. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to post stuff like that. So I have to fight myself. I'm like, what kind of content do I want to do? What kind of content do I want to create? Because anything that I do, if it goes viral, it's going to be...
I think more than anything, and I think this is something that, again, during this process of growth, right, in 2024, I had to not accept, because I think I had already accepted it, but it was just kind of more of going through the process of it, right? Like I went from being... mainly known as like an influencer. That's how the majority of my audience came about. And when I transitioned back to just fully operating my business and just, showcasing what I do on a day-to-day on the back end, my reach, my engagement, all that dropped, and I was like, damn, should I continue to do entertainment and then, continue to operate my business how I was doing it? Or do I go through this and just suck it up and, really be who I am? And so in that process, I was kind of like, like I would post certain things, but it would only get like 4,000 views, right? But then I would post stuff that was more entertainment and it would take off, you know? Yeah. And so I was kind of in that thing of like, okay, what do I really want to do? Do I want to be this, operate my business and just fully be who I am? Because I'm not the type of person that goes to the extreme to be too funny, because that's not my character. I don't like acting a fool. That's not my thing,
That was a funny ass video though. You guys did a good job with that.
And so again, I had to go through that process of like, okay, what do I really want, right? And I think for me now, I'm in a season of like, I much rather build an audience of people that are like me than just people that just want to be entertained, 'Cause I'm operating a business, and I want to obviously make sure that, obviously, yes, I put stuff out to create an impact and, to maybe entertain, but I'm trying to.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a perspective. Like there's a lot of things that I'm doing right now where it's like I'm thinking about the people that are gonna purchase the bigger picture for me. Yes. And for me, it's like that's the reason why in the beginning I was like I was doing the podcast stuff, but back then when I started doing podcasts, it was not what it is right now. Right now it's like even Khloe Kardashian just came out with their own podcast, and I stopped because I was like, dude, I don't want to, and we spoke a little bit about this in our private conversation where it's like, I didn't want to be known as a podcast guy. And I was already starting to get recognized as that. And early on, I was grateful and blessed enough to have like big content creators come to support, and that helped a lot establish, you know, what
A
I was
brand.
doing.
Yep.
But I was like, that's not, my goal is to be
Yeah.
doing other things, then they're gonna
You had to
put
make a
me in this
pivot.
bubble.
Yeah.
And that's been hard over these past couple months, which is like, I want to do this, but they're like, yeah, but we want to hire you for photos though. You know, like
Yeah.
we want to hire you for our event.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but I don't want to do that shit
Yeah.
no more. Like, I want to do this. Like, I want to do a
Yeah.
fucking movie.
Yeah.
But it's like, because they don't know and you haven't put out
Mhm.
that type of content, it's kind of hard to now fucking train
Rewire
everyone's
you know?
fucking mind.
And it's I'll give you some. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
you.
no, you're good. That's
I remember this one time I was sleeping, bro, and Anita woke me up. She's like, "Babe, what happened to your Instagram?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" My first thing with them, I'm like,
oh shit.
you know what I mean? And then, well, so essentially, my IG had gotten taken down because like a violation or something.
Yeah.
But I didn't violate any restrictions or whatever. But even in that process, I was like, because I was already kind of sitting with that mindset of like, you know what, like the 50,000 people that follow me already came from me posting entertainment content, more stuff about my family. Like, if I had to rebuild, I can do it, you know? And I always preach this to people, and there's something that's a very true statement. Like, I'd much rather have 1,000 followers of people that are gonna eventually buy from me or hire me for my services over 50,000 people who are just gonna watch my content and not ever be, you know, a conversion for me for the business. And so in that moment, I was like, all right, I accept it. If I can't get my Instagram back, I'll rebuild it. I don't even want the same people to follow me anymore. You know, I want to build this from scratch and just fully build it on the audience that I desire. And obviously I got it back, right? But you know, I've had all these other thoughts of like, why don't, because you know how there's a feature on IG where you can have you can remove your followers.
Yeah.
Like, let's say somebody starts following you and you're like, hey, I don't want this person to follow me or whatever. You can actually have them not follow you, right? And so I've had thoughts too of like, well, what if I just remove everybody, you know, and just leave the people that I want to be following me? But you know, obviously now I came to the conclusion I just hired a setter, so the person's going through my DMs, filtering out the people that I'm trying to target to, and then, you know, even to share some game, they're adding the people that are my desired avatar into my close friends. So now that they're my close friends, I'm able to market to them directly without putting it to the entire thing that might not be able to see it, you know? So now my targeting is a lot more intentional, in a way that's still, you know, organic.
Talking about social media and different accounts, what do you think about people that self-sabotage their career or that constantly want to restart? Because I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs are like that, and I've gotten into that point, that fucking snowball effect of like, all right, I already did that, I'm gonna do something else now.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know what it is. It's like we accomplished something, and then someone told me, a good friend told me, that's who entrepreneurs are. They do something, they figure it out, they achieve it, and then they fucking just they scratch it out.
Yeah.
Like what can people do to continue on the path that you know, is it discipline? Is it fear? What is it that makes them want to reset?
I would say is self-belief more than anything, you know, because I think, you know, if you start off with that vision, yes, you can achieve some sort of success, but there's levels to it. You know, just I've been able to achieve success in what I do, but there's levels above it, you know. And I mean, for a perfect example, how many trends have there not been on social media? There's been, oh, if you do Airbnb, if you do Turo, if you do this, if you do that, if you do
crypto and all that,
crypto, e-commerce, etc., those things are always going to happen, right? But for me, in the entire time that I've had my career, and my business, it's always been the same thing. Like, I've experimented with stuff like that, but only to realize that actually stopped my progress or delayed my progress, because I was now splitting my attention into two different things, you know? But again, it's because we haven't yet stopped being that hustler and evolved into a CEO. You know, it's a big difference, because when you're a hustler, you just want to feel like you're doing something, a CEO moves intentionally into the direction in which they know they need to go.
Yeah, that's my mission this year.
You know?
Yeah, that's my mission. It's not that I'm tired. It's just sometimes it's that letting go of the responsibility and trusting a team. And that's fucking hard because it's like now if it fails, I much rather, and maybe you challenge me on this, I much rather it fail because I did something wrong than for me to put someone in a position to fail. And for me, it's like, I don't want to create that stress for the other person because that other person's already coming with the intention of like, fuck, I can't fuck this up for this. Like, you know, I can't, he's trusting me with this. So sometimes I even baby other people and I don't micromanage, but I don't give them that full responsibility. I'm like, oh, you help me out with this, but don't fucking touch it. Like, help me cut the video up, but don't finalize it, you know? And I'll here and there, I'll be like, creatively do what you want to do. I want to see what you're able to do, you know? But a lot of the times it's like, no, is that ego? Is that,
I think that's fear of losing what you built, you know? And I think until you realize that the more you empower other people to win and help you win, you'll go a lot further than if you just try to do it on your own.
Yeah.
You know? And same thing with me. Like when I started, like I told you about the setter, I was like, I don't want to give nobody my Instagram. I don't give nobody my password. Like they're going to represent me. Right. But in that fear also too, it's like, I got to consider my family. I got to consider that, you know, growth, you know, can I do this all on my own? Things like that. And so I think more than anything, you have to kind of trust the process, and it's an evolution, right? Because you are first generation entrepreneur, so you have this idea of I gotta do it all. I have to be in control because if not, it's not gonna come out good. When in reality, it's like the more you empower and you allow other people to kind of go through their growth season, and you encourage them and guide them, they might even be better than you. You know, like the team that I have now, my editors are way better than me. Right now, I don't have to waste 2-3 years of learning how to edit like them. I've just now shortened that instantly.
They're using AI for
and, you know what I mean? But they've mastered After Effects, which I've done and I'm good at it, but I'm not.
Bro, I never got to that, man.
You know?
I never got to that. And I regret it, but then I don't because I'm like, fuck.
No, and I think, you know, a lot of a lot of people are going to watch as their creators too as well. Like, I much rather pay to skip 2 years of learning to do it now than to try to learn on my own just to say that I can do it.
That's my goal this year, to put a team together of people that want to create, that want to achieve certain milestones and goals and create shit that feels good, you know? Because I feel that I say this a lot of the times content creators get they create content based on their followers' reaction and engagement, right? If you post a sad video and it goes super viral, everyone's there, and now it's like, oh, they like this, so I'm gonna start posting sad videos. And it's like, oh, if they post a dancing video, like, oh, they like, so they're the influencers and celebrities and all these creators are posting content based on the engagement that they're receiving, and I see that over and over again. So for me, it's like, I want to be able to post shit that we want to post and create trends, because as much as, and not to throw shade to influencers or celebrities, but it's like, if you think about it, a lot of the people that go viral are not even celebrities or influencers. They're ordinary people that have a certain charisma that now are becoming influencers because of that video. Now influencers are doing the trends that other people created it. But it's supposed to be the other way around. Influencers are supposed to influence. Celebrities are supposed to be the ones that create new trends and new dresses and new, you know, they're the ones that are supposed to be the trendsetters, not ordinary people that are fucking.
I mean, social media has evolved so much, you know, to where now everybody has an opportunity, you know.
But what do you think? Because influencers and celebrities do have a big platform, that they have that on their favor already. What do you think that they should be working on that they are not doing, that they should be taking advantage of? Because other small, like you're saying.
I think for me, and this is just from like a personal standpoint, right? If I continue to follow trends, I'm not really building on a solid foundation. you know, because that trend can die, or that, you know, certain concept or certain niche or career could die out, right? So kind of how you were saying, it's like for me, it's like I much rather post content that I want to post, because eventually I know that I might not be getting the engagement that I want now, but I know in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, my brand is going to be solid enough to where I can just post and print money from it, right? That's kind of how I process it.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different ball game when it comes to the entertainment side,
Yeah.
right? Because in the entertainment, it's just a constant evolution of,
Trends.
you know, trends and capitalizing on them. And even in business, like, don't get me wrong, I think I've actually paid this guy to kind of mentor me on the YouTube side, not necessarily for entertainment, but on the business side of things, right? Only to come to the realization that this guy was just essentially maximizing on trends that were happening, monetizing from that, and then hopping on to the next thing. So let's say he started off with crypto, and then from there he started into SaaS, and then he went into AI,
still
and
using
then
the
it
same
went into YouTube,
formula.
personal brand. So it's just like, you know, trends, right? And so for me, it's now like, okay, what do I really want to build? Like, what do I want to be known for? If 3, 4, 5 years pass, do I want to be the guy that entertained, or am I going to want to build a personal brand that's going to allow for me to be able to post,
Yeah.
be anywhere in the world where I want my family, monetize, grow the business, bring in revenue? And so when you balance that out, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll just go through the pain of getting 1,000 views
Yeah.
versus 100,000, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's just kind of that. But I think everybody has a different outcome that they desire. On the entertainment side, I don't see a problem with it. On what both you and I are trying to do, then we have to make that transition and realize that, even though, because social media isn't just one thing, you know, it's entertainment. There's different formats, there's different outcomes, there's different reasons as to why people do it. And when you understand that, it allows for you to move in a completely different way, because you understand the objective.
Right. You can't be a hater.
No, everybody's gonna do what their desired outcome is,
Yeah.
you know. And I think even me, you know, working with people on the business side, creating content for them, bro, they can have 500 views on a video, but make 20,000 from 500 views, you know? And so that's a completely different thing that made me rewire my way of thinking, that it isn't so much about the views or the amount of followers, but it's the quality of it, you know? And so for you, as an example, you're trying to build this production, you're trying to develop an app. So where do you have to put yourself? How do you brand yourself to attract that type of person that sees the vision based on what you're showing on a day-to-day basis, whether it's you documenting the process, whether it's you showing the behind the scenes, whether it's you talking about it and bringing people along on the journey? You're going to attract the people that you desire, instead of trying to do this route, going all the way around.
Yeah. Making it harder.
To make, you know, to not find the right person that you're trying to attract, you know?
Right.
So that's the imbalance that I see. And I think if you were to just make, not just you, I'm just saying as an example.
Yeah.
If people were just kind of make that switch, it would change
Maybe
everything
just to stop
for them.
thinking and analyze like all the things that.
Yeah, I think for people that operate a business, it's, don't idolize views and don't idolize followers. Not idolize, but create more of a connection and a personal brand. Because if you develop that personal brand, you can do anything down the road and have it be successful, because you've already built those relationships of a quality audience. I mean, are you familiar with Alex Hormozy?
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy did a video, and I actually went to ¿cómo se llama? Acquisition.com. One of my clients won the school games. And so one of the things that he was saying was that this lady who was like, she was like a nurse or something that had to do with healthcare. She had an audience of like 6,000 followers. Every average post was getting maybe 20 to 50 likes or whatever. But she was able to make $1 million just off that Instagram. But that's because her audience was so primed to that niche. And then obviously the product price, you know, made, you know, compensated for the lack of volume.
Yeah. It's like one Bugatti.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's just that perspective of, if you want to do entertainment and do influencer stuff and do brand deals and stuff like that, here's this path. But if you want to build a personal brand based on what you're selling and what you're promoting, then there's this route.
Yeah.
And they don't look the same.
Yeah.
They utilize the same platform,
But it's not the same.
exactly.
Yeah.
Here you need volume. Here you just need quality. So it's
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Damn, that's a good perspective on that. Because I do think about that a lot, and I'm like, why? It's almost like if you're trying to do the same thing on Instagram and doing the same thing on TikTok, which is two completely different platforms. Like, the same trends on TikTok don't work for Instagram.
Well, I would say otherwise. The reason why I say this is because every time, in both in business and in just entertainment, right? I've seen a direct correlation that if a video takes off on TikTok, it's gonna perform well on Instagram and it's gonna perform well on YouTube.
That's crazy.
It's a weird thing, but it's always the case. Like view wise, it might vary a little bit, but there's always a direct correlation. So kind of one of the things that I do right now for my clients is we also have this understanding of, well, if I already posted this, I can't post it again because my viewers already saw it, right? But if you really think about it, there's only a percentage of your viewers that saw it. And on top of that, you're not just banking on your followers to see it, you're banking on other people who don't know who you are to see it, right? And so one of the things that we started to do is that if we find a winning concept of video or a message or something that was said and that went viral, what we'll do is we'll give it a different format, maybe make it a little bit more raw, maybe make it into like text and do a slide carousel. And chances are that it's always going to perform. Even reposting that same video multiple times is going to perform because now the algorithm is pushing you to a category and a bucket where your audience is at.
And I also think like, especially on TikTok, like you are constantly posting. So it's like, it's not like that. It's not like if your profile grid should be a certain standard. Because,
and that's another thing too. Like my client said this best, and he says it in a complete raw way, right? He says the people who have a pretty grid make no money. You know what I mean? That's how he said it. And I think there is some truth to it because a lot of times we overthink it.
Yeah.
Like if you see myself, like sometimes I'll post stuff just directly from my iPhone. Sometimes obviously I'm a creative, so I want things to look a certain way. And so I just kind of post, I'm not too concerned or too worried about how it looks. I just want to know what the back end is going to bring.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So what is it exactly that you do right now? When we last were talking, we're content creating for people and you were into crypto. What exactly?
Well, crypto is just a vehicle that I choose to invest into,
Right.
Obviously I talk about it sometimes just because, again, I go back to that story of when I was sitting in my car, I had read the book, Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. I finished it only to realize I had no money to invest or to even make a dent, to have the outcome that I wanted. Now with crypto, we get that opportunity to be able to put a little bit of money and still make a couple $1,000s, right? Because it's still in its early stage, especially if you invest into technologies that actually have utilization, But that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So what is it? Yeah, no. What is it that you do like right now, like in terms of services for people? Like what do you, I guess for work, what do you provide for people?
Yeah. So essentially what I do is I help people build a personal brand on social media. I have clients ranging from restaurants all the way to people who do financial literacy, commercial real estate, etc. So essentially what I help them create is create content that's going to create conversions. So for example, kind of how we're talking about building a personal brand, help them narrow their message to attract their viewers that are more qualified to buy from what they're selling, right? So help them get up on podcast, create educational piece of content, distribute their content on social media to create more opportunities to bring in revenue back to the brand. But in terms of that,
so is that like the reason why I ask is like if some people are interested in hiring you for your services, is that like a subscription based,
yes.
Like a monthly recurring?
Yeah,
payment?
everything that I do is on a recurring basis.
Okay.
And there's two reasons. One, because obviously that brings in consistent revenue to my business. But two, right now with social media, especially if you're trying to monetize, it's a volume game.
Yeah.
You have to be super consistent. You can't just post 1 video, 4 videos, 3 videos and expect, for it to work. So it's a volume game. So that's why we create the content, we edit it, we distribute it. So that obviously gives us the opportunity to be able to bring in more
Do
eyeballs to the
you, and
business.
to give game to entrepreneurs or people that want to follow this path on like bringing services or value to companies and stuff? Um, do you give them a certain time frame? Like, is there a certain commitment to like, okay, you have to be with us for a certain amount of time for you to see X amount of results?
There's a certain criteria of people that I take on. Again, if you don't have the personality, if you're not confident for the camera, and if you're not willing to do this, like fully commit to it because it's something that you genuinely understand how it's going to impact the business over just seeing it as a trend just because your favorite influencers are seeing it or doing it, then I won't work with you, right? Because more chances are that in the beginning stages, as we're developing the brand, you're not going to see that immediate outcome, or you're going to think, or you have this negative understanding of I have to grow in followers and I have to grow in X amount of views instead of building a quality audience, right? And so if you don't have that mindset and that framework, I won't partner up with you because that's a waste of my time and that's a waste of your time. Like, it's not, an athlete doesn't commit to only dribble the ball for 3 months and expect to be a professional ball player.
Right.
It takes a commitment, right? Same thing with social media. If you want to be able to bring in revenue through social media, you have to stay consistent with it, and same thing for my stuff. Like, I'm a perfect example of that. And that's why I always talk about, the things that I'm doing. And I have a hard time too, even when it comes to like talking about money publicly, because from my social media, I'll do a post will probably do 4,000 views when it's like educational, but that'll still bring me a client that pays me $6,500 every month. Right.
Yeah.
So I tried to share that to give context and explanation to what I'm saying based on the experiences of not just myself, but me doing it across the board with multiple people. And so if you're somebody that doesn't have that mindset or think this is just going to be an overnight thing, then I just won't work with you. So you have to be selective.
So do you also have an expectation in terms of like require a certain amount of income that they make yearly?
Yeah, 100%. Because if not, first, budget wise, and I can't be your, how would I say it, like
babysitter?
Not babysitter, but I can't take up your full additional money that you have, right? Because you still want to obviously market the business. You still want to do what you're doing. So the majority of every single client that I currently work with is at least doing $500,000 to tens of millions, right? But $500,000 is kind of like that sweet spot where you're kind of still in that developing process, but you can still afford, to double down, not just for me, but to have the commitment enough to go all in into building a personal brand. And so
how do you know what to charge?
So I kind of set 3 main packages between 6,500 all the way up to 10K. That's kind of where my range is. But from there, that's just kind of like a ballpark figure, right? If you want additional stuff, like let's say you want to throw on YouTube videos, or you want me to manage another platform or things like that, I can make tweaks. But for the most part, the reason why I developed it that way is because that kind of gives the potential client an opportunity to be able to have like a ballpark of where they're going to be.
Right.
And so that creates not just an opportunity for them to be able to see themselves doing it, but it also allows for me to be profitable and, be able to scale back into my business. Because I do what I tell my clients to do, and why they're hiring me is the exact same thing I do for myself.
What are some of the things that videographers are not doing that's affecting the reason why they're not getting
they're not marketing themselves? They think solely on talent you're going to get to where you want to be, and that's only going to get you so far. There's very few people that there's this quote on like the entrepreneurship side of things where it's like, it's not the best that wins, it's the one that's the most known. And I say this all the time. I feel there's so many more talented videographers that are way more talented than me, but I'll run laps around them, and that isn't because I'm better than them. It's just I'm just better at marketing myself.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, I have the case studies now to back up who I say that I am online. But even from the color grade or sound design or all these things that we kind of give value to when it comes to like the videography space, I don't double down on that. What I double down is the messaging and if it converts. That's the metric. It isn't sound, look fucking pretty. It isn't transitions. It isn't color grade. It isn't the best equipment.
And it's crazy because you come from a place where you would do that a lot.
Yeah.
You would dedicate, like bro, your videos were fucking, I mean, they are still, but I'm talking about in
Yeah.
terms of like transitions and After Effects and
Yeah.
putting in like a lot of detail into masking. I
Mhm.
remember like your videos were like
Yeah.
hard, bro. So it's like, it's cool that you realize and you made
Mhm.
that pivot into like, what's gonna generate me money? Because fuck
Yes.
this, like, 'cause
Yeah.
all night spending masking is like,
Yeah, no,
it's
bro.
a buzz. I know what it's like, bro.
Bro. And honestly, the only thing that would get me through that was like me thinking, I know nobody's gonna do this. You know what I mean? So that would like motivate me when it was like midnight and I'm over here doing a frame by frame.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, nobody's gonna do this. Nobody's gonna do this. So that would motivate me. But then if you really think about it from like a return standpoint, it really did nothing for me.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Like no
It
one even
looked
know. They
cool.
blinked and they missed the
Yeah,
fucking.
and I think that's actually a thing to talk about, right? In the real estate space, when I was heavy marketing for real estate agents, everybody would do the same thing, right? The main reason why was because they were just trying to appear cool to their peers. It wasn't to market or to gain clients or to give value to the client that would give them that check. It was just to seem cool. And I think in our space, it's kind of similar, right? All we talk about is gear. We focus a lot on the color grade, on the transitions, and this, because that's what makes us cool in what we do in our niche, right? But I'm not trying to be cool. I'm trying to be paid, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, cool will become a byproduct of it,
Right.
but that's not the
You
the
know
end
what?
goal.
I'm gonna confess something to you right now, bro. As a videographer in the beginning, obviously, I think I spoke about this in the first episode that we did,
And some people get mad at me that I say this,
bro. Like, but it's cool because I think that, like, for instance, in the beginning, when I first heard about you, obviously that entrepreneurship type of fucking mindset. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like,
Yeah.
shit,
You
he's
gotta
gonna
have it too.
he's coming to like take the clients because I didn't see you, I didn't know about you. And I was like, whoa, damn. I started looking at your work. I was like, oh shit. And the inner self-conscious of like my talent was fucking triggered. I was like, wait. This guy knows his shit. Like, so I was like, but you know what? Like I'm making money doing the shit that I'm doing. So I shouldn't compare myself to like, to you on to your style of editing. Mine were more simple.
That's
Mine were
huge.
like
Yeah.
A, B, C, D. Like that's just what it is. And for me now it's crazy because now what you're talking about is like the same mindset that I had before, which is like not letting the trends or not letting the gear, not letting
The culture,
the culture,
the videography
like
space,
want to like just you be a part of that when it's not gonna make you money in return.
100%.
And that's what it was back then. I'm like, wait, that fucking masking, I know it takes a long ass fucking time. And I know that he did this video for this influencer. And I know that this fucking influencer didn't pay him that fucking much for him to do that. You know what I mean? Like all those thought process went through. I was like, nah, it's cool. I'll do the same fucking shit that I'll fucking do.
Yeah, but even that's a great point that you bring up. And I think and further in the conversation, right, because we're kind of going backwards, but we talk about like staying true to who you are and believing in yourself. I didn't see it as in like I'm gonna make money from this, but I'm gonna make a statement from this. So it was more to build the brand because they were like, who edited this, right? Who
it worked?
did this, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously they were gonna do their due diligence and figure out who it was. So for me, even though I wasn't getting paid what I was supposed to be paid, I was using an opportunity for that to be my billboard.
You establish yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, even with right now that I run ads, it's like, obviously, yes, my goal is to have conversions, but even from a perspective of, I just want people to see me. I want people to see my face over and over and over again to the point where they're like, okay, I see this guy everywhere. Like, what's up with this guy? Like I gotta.
What's his name? Ty.
Yeah, Ty Lopez. Exactly.
Yeah.
He was the first one to like really kind of set that. It was kind of annoying, but he really like built that, And so, yeah, I mean, it's a completely different shift in perspective. And like I said, some people get mad that I say that, but at the end of the day, it's my reality,
right?
So I'm only saying it based on facts,
right?
I'm not saying it based on, me trying to get a reaction out of people, but it's based on the shift that even I had to do. Because when I did start, first it was the gear. I had to have the best equipment. Every time I would make a little bit more money, you would have to go back into the gear to get maybe a new camera, a new lens. But the reality is that now you're just stuck waiting for that client to come in for you to be able to pay back that equipment.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it the other way, it's, now it's, if you have a credit card or even if you have additional cash, put that into marketing, like feed the business. Like, don't get so caught up on the gear. Like, I just upgraded this phone, but I was shooting with an iPhone 13 Pro Max that was all cracked, and that one generated hundreds of millions of views for my brand client.
Fuck.
So that just kind of gives you that recognition to be able to say, hey, it's not about the gear
gear.
and it's not about the equipment, it's about the outcome.
Yeah.
Because I can have all the gear in the world, but if my videos aren't performing for my client, that client is now gone.
Yeah.
¿Sí me entiendes? But if I'm giving them the results without quote unquote industry standard of gear,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
why am I still winning?
You can't get too fucking romantic with this with the
You
with
can't,
the gear.
bro. And don't get me wrong, like there's those certain individuals that are just gonna be,
Die hard.
you know, like they end up becoming like the Picasso of the videography space just by
but
it's such a
fucking
small percentage,
bro.
you know. And again, like who am I to say that that's the wrong path to take? It that's what you desire and you're willing to go
and maybe
through the pains
perspective
of it.
too. Maybe
Yeah.
perspective on like what they want to. Because I think about that a lot too. I'm like, shit, I really give a fuck about quality and very storytelling and stuff like that. But I understand to a certain extent, like that's not gonna sell
Yeah.
certain things, and I know that that's not gonna perform well in
Yes.
certain. Like I've seen a lot of trailers on TikTok that have shit views.
Bro.
You know what I mean? And but then like someone recommending the video or the film and reacting to it, it has millions of fucking views.
Yeah.
So it just depends on
It's just
how
it's
you,
also like knowing your lane too. Like for example, like I could be great at what I do, but you put me in the wrong category and I'll be horrible. You know? So same thing with you. It's like you're great at storytelling, you're great at, you know, the cinematography aspect of it. But what if you're just in the wrong lane?
yeah.
What if you can take that same skill set and now take it over to the business world and get paid $50,000, $100,000 per project by you bringing in that storytelling factor in the industry that needs that service and can sustain that amount of money going back into their business.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why, even though performance wise, Mercedes commercials don't do really well on TikTok, and you can have a, you know, Mercedes dealership GM posting content that outperforms
Yeah.
the views and the reach that the official Mercedes-Benz page has, even though there's a lot more money and a lot more production put into this, but there's a specific reason for that too as well. It's
Right.
the brand. It's not necessarily so much on
Money or
it's more on the brand aspect of it, right?
establishment.
And so sometimes even for when you do work with people, they might not even want a return. They just want to be consistent on social media to
Look a certain
develop
way.
that brand.
Yeah, and I work with people like
You
that
know?
where they're like, "Hey, I don't give a fuck about. I just make me look good as fuck."
Exactly.
And I want this because I'm about to close $1 million deal, so I need to look fucking
100%.
Yeah. So
And so it's just, again, I think I did a great job at like being able to see that. So when I transitioned from this to what I'm doing now, I was like, okay, it wasn't that, you know, maybe I wasn't good at what I do, but
Yeah.
I just needed to be in the right environment and in the right lane
yeah,
to be able to fully, you know, make the best out of it. And
Yeah.
that changed everything. And instead of me saying like, well, now I don't have that many views, or now I don't have
yeah. In the
X,
back end,
Y,
you're
and
making money,
Z.
dude. You're chilling, dude.
So exactly. So it's a different dynamic, right? But that's where you have to be, you have to know who you are,
Yeah.
right? What direction, like, are you comfortable within what you're doing, knowing that long term, it's all gonna make sense,
Yeah,
you know?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, bro, I appreciate you being here. We took a
Yeah.
long. This was a long. This was the longest.
It was a
fucking
little bit of
podcast.
everything.
But I love it, dude. I love the fact that we got to talk about a lot of personal stuff, and I feel that I'm excited to see where you're gonna be at in a couple years, because I see your posts and I follow you obviously, and the amount of energy and dedication you have to the craft. It's like you can tell that you're educating yourself constantly and you're constantly learning new things, and I'm excited, bro, to be honest, to see
Thank you,
what you're gonna become, and,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to know you, because I'm gonna be able to call you and be like, hey,
Yeah.
bro,
What's up
what
with
I
this?
do?
Yeah, 100%. I think right now I'm just kind of paying the price of going through that journey to
Yeah.
really establishing that. So that then once my voice is heard, it's actually
Yeah.
validation behind it. Obviously there already is, you know, but it's just a bigger level.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I want to do this again. Hopefully we can do this
Yeah,
soon.
100%, bro.
That'll be cool, because I do feel that, yeah, we talk a lot about a lot of deep stuff, and
Yeah.
I like that though.
Same, 100%.
But thank you for coming. With that being said, we're gonna leave this episode like this. If you guys like this episode, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Let's go.